We are back on Morning Line, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Our guest this morning, Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall, joining us by Skype. He's also president of the Sheriff's Association, taking phone calls and comments from people online. And, the question real quick, Sheriff, before we get to the calls, and some of the folks on Facebook, we're streaming live at newschannel5.com, asking, all right, how safe really are the inmates and your correctional officers? And a lot of them bringing up the point, we know there was a lawsuit filed and the judges ruled not to do a mass release of nonviolent offenders. Are you still working to release some of these on a case-by-case basis to free up room in the jail?
I do think it's something we have to keep doing. And what I mean by that is, there's a fine line between public safety and public health crisis that we're dealing with. And so, I'm not a fan of releasing everyone or whatever because I do think there's a risk associated for our community and that as well. But I do, and I monitor this every day. I mean, the police department are using citations more than they were, which keeps the booking numbers down some. And when the courts so far have been fairly receptive to some release efforts from the public defender and others, maybe not the mass release, but. So I think there's a place to continue doing this. One of the reasons you want to do that, of course, is our facilities need the ability to separate one another and when we have an outbreak or whatever. But also it's just a question in general. I mean, these people are awaiting trial. I mean, that's really what you're talking about. And so in any other system, I mean, quite frankly, a lot of systems, bondsmen or people can come down and put up cash money, and that individual's running around the streets of Nashville anyway. And so just because they haven't put up the money and they are released, it doesn't mean that Nashville is any less safe. Just money doesn't guarantee that you're going to be safe. And so the point is, releases of people awaiting trial is a part of our Constitution, part of our world. So, but I think we're doing a decent job as a community here trying to balance health, public safety, and I think we're at a decent number. I had asked for it to get down to 1,000. I believe the count was 1,044 last week, and normally it would be 1,300. So I think we're doing okay.
To date, how many do you think you've released under an agreement with the judge's order because they're nonviolent? Otherwise, they would be behind bars, but for now they're released with the understanding they'll come back when they have a court hearing. Do you know, is it over 100, 200?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, Nick, but I'll tell you there's several different release mechanisms. One of those was to increase some folks on pretrial release. One was to let judges release, different things. So I saw a number last week. There was 164 people that had been released as a result of this COVID thing in some form or the other. And so of those 164, that was the total. And just to get this question out of the way so people would know, I believe 7 of those had been rearrested, and I believe 6 of the 7 were public intox types of cases. These are homeless people who are high risk, by the way, for the COVID situation. And, we're better off for that individual be living on the street, intoxicated than we are in a jail, obviously contagious given off other things. And so that's a balance you're trying to strike. And so I believe it's 164 that were released. And again, that was midweek last week. I saw there had been 7 that had been rearrested.
And six of those 7,
I believe, was public.
Yeah, so it's not like they're out there robbing a bank.
Right. We haven't seen that yet, knock on wood, and I'm sure we hope that doesn't happen.
Let's take a call or two for you as well, and we'll get to some questions as well off of Facebook. And we'll go to Diane. Diane, good morning. What's your question for the sheriff?
Hi, Nick. This is Diane. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I sure can. Go ahead, ma'am. The sheriff hears you too.
Okay, then. What I want to tell you, Sheriff, is that I applaud you for the job that you're doing because, like you said, the front line is one thing, but the back line has issues too, when they're being housed by you guys. But I'm very proud of my Nashvillians through all of this. I'm very proud of the workers on the front line and the back line through all this stuff, but I'm very, very disappointed in my government here in Tennessee. It's embarrassing right now to even live in Tennessee because you actually don't know what to do. Everybody is so indecisive. I see people downtown protesting and stuff. I know people want to go back to work and jumpstart the economy and stuff. You know, nobody wants to go out their home and get a food box, and that's in great understanding.
I think I know where she was going, and I wanted your take on this also. Of course, we did see some of the protesters this weekend. A lot of people want to try to see some of things getting back to normal. Now, regardless of whatever order the president or the governor or even the mayor gives, you as the sheriff of the jail, and that's your own little city you manage, you're going to have to decide on your own, won't you? You'll look at their guidance, but what's safe and what's not about getting things back to normal, right?
Yeah, Nick, you know, one of the things may not be as newsworthy or interesting is, you know, we have 1,000 employees, and you know, I would say 600 of those are probably jail-related staff. But we also serve civil process. I mean, we do evictions and garnishments and divorce and, you know, orders of protection. And if you just look at the data, I've been real nerdy about this kind of stuff, but, you know, while DUI arrests are down 57% compared to a year ago, because clearly there's not places to run around, not folks on the streets, and that's a good thing. But, you know, domestic orders of protection types of cases are ticking up all over the country. So the balance of those things are going on, but we run a whole division called civil process, civil warrants, that are out there knocking on doors and doing various functions in our community, and that has to obviously keep going. And then I have all sorts of support staff and administrative staff that are either at home today working, which we have a large percentage doing that, but I'm trying to manage them and manage my job within the rules of governors and presidents and mayors and how they see fit for our city to operate. And so it is very complicated, and I think Diane is right that it's very confusing to watch one or two messages from one or two leaders of different types, and we all have frustrations. I have a senior in high school, and I know everybody has a story, and I have my health, my family's health, so I'm not comparing it to that, but he's a senior in high school. He's a big baseball kid. This was his senior year in baseball. Last Saturday night, 2 nights ago, was his prom that he missed. He has graduation here in a few weeks, trying to go to college. Asked me yesterday, Dad, will I ever get to go to college? I mean, we all have a story, and I'm just very frustrated for his age because of that, and of course, being his dad makes it different. But we all have some frustrations. I think what we need to do is we do need to get consistent messaging. I mean, the data alone is all over the map. I mean, it's very confusing. I saw a story yesterday. I read deep into the data where up in the Boston area they did some research, and 200 people basically that were not positive, not symptomatic, were tested randomly. They went and picked random people, so to speak, 200 of them, and a third of those people were basically, they had the antibodies, meaning they'd already had the disease and never knew it. I have no idea if that's universally, the number, but if you just take that idea, that's an amazing stat. That means a third of the people, the way I understand it, now have antibodies and would not be able to get it again, more than likely. So that group may be our first come back to work people, and other things. I mean, can we find a way to not shut everybody out of all their jobs and everything? I know that's the challenge, but I'm frustrated with people, and Diane's a good example of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that tearing our government down is a good way of doing it. I'm just saying we've got to be mindful of what's going on. And again, whether your son's a senior or you've lost your job, saw me in yesterday, and he was telling me, he said, I'm just begging for my unemployment check. I don't have any money, and you just hear it everywhere. So we just need to I hope we can get a consistent message and try to get our city and our country back in order.
Sheriff, as far as warrants, and you talked about this, I'm just wondering, there's a lot of people out there right now without work, and they're concerned about whether or not had they made their mortgage or if they can't pay their rent because they just don't have the money and they're in a real pickle. If you get warrants, are your deputies evicting people right now?
Yeah, I don't know if I was the first, but probably one of the first in the country. When this thing happened and things started happening, I had a friend of mine that very high up in leadership in Nashville called me and say, everyone's worried about losing their jobs. And this is way before everything was shut down. I mean, this is in the front end of that. And I made a decision over the weekend, it feels like a month ago, that we're not going to evict anybody. We're not going to do that. And just so people know how that really works is you would go to court, and the court would actually order those things to happen. But we are the physical presence that go out and make sure that those things occur. We go knock on your door, serve notice, give you the court date. Once the courts tell you to be evicted, we go to the scene, and that whole process feels horribly long. As a matter of fact, Nick, what I did is I discontinued that the morning of the tornado because I didn't think it was fair to be driving up into East Nashville and these people have lost everything, knocking on the neighbor's door saying, hey, we need to put your stuff out. You didn't pay your rent. So, you know what? And if that's wrong, so be it. We'll figure that out down the road. But it's right now we've shut all that off. The only civil process that we're involved with would be things such as divorce. These are non-financial related matters. We're not doing any financial issues
no financial.
at all,
all
and we
right.
won't until.
I think that's going to be a relief to a lot of folks, and then you deal with it later, and hopefully they make good when they get their jobs back. Listen, we need to take a break. When we come back, more questions for Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall. We're also streaming live on Facebook. I'll try to get to some of your comments there as well. We'll be right back after this.